This one technique separated Wang Hao from every penhold player before him, and the grip adjustment is smaller than you think. Alright, next let's talk about the penhold backhand. As we all know, penhold grip is a traditional Chinese national team style. Whether it's the push block, which Liu Guoyang used to win Grand Slams, or the reverse penhold backhand that Wang Hao used to dominate world table tennis until his retirement.
在这两项技术上，虽然说在现在的世界主流打法上呢，它算不上最先进，但是
So in
我
this
觉得
lesson,
在
I'll
日常
explain
中
the
啊，这个
details of the
练一
reverse
个球也
penhold
好，
backhand.
初学的时候
Starting
啊，
with the
还
grip,
是有非
the
常多的推挡
50-50
的
grip I
朋友，
introduced
还有
earlier
一
is
些
actually
手打
designed for
球的
RPB.
存在。
If you
所以
want to
说咱
play
们在一
primarily
节
with the
课虽然
reverse
给大家详细
backhand,
的讲解
you
一
can
下
shift
直
your
拍
thumb
横打的一
slightly
些细节，
upward, as
咱们
mentioned
以
before.
推波为标准，直拍横
Watch.
打，首先
Without
摸
that
落拍。
adjustment,
最
you
开始
can
讲
see the
的一
racket
个
face
5分
stays
的落
somewhat
拍，也就
closed.
是用于直拍横打。那么如果说你想说完全的靠直拍横打为主呢，那么你可以像刚刚孙教练所说的，把大拇指往上调整一点。那么大家可以看一下，我不调整啊，你们看一下这个板面是稍显还是比较压一点的，会摩
With
擦，
the thumb
摩擦
shifted
面
up,
积会薄
the
一点。
three
那
fingers
么如果
behind
我们通
naturally
过
follow
抓
upward
板的
too.
调整，
This
直
gives
拍
you a
横打抓
larger
板调整，我
contact
把
area on the
大拇指
ball,
往上窝了
meaning
以
you can
后，
drive
你会
through it
发现
more
后面
rather
的
than
三个
just
手跟随
brushing
的也
thin.
会顶上来一点。
Now, the
那么你会
framework
发现
for
这个
RPB
板
is
的踢
actually
球面
very
积会更
similar to
多， 也
shake-hand
就是说
grip,
我可以多
because
撞一点。
RPB
对，
emphasizes
那么这个
active
是直
force
拍横打的一
generation.
个握拍。
This differs
那么
from
同样
push
的，我
block,
框架孙教练也
which
要给大家
relies
讲一下。
mainly on
直拍
borrowed
横打的框
force
架
and is
其实跟
primarily
横板是
defensive.
非常接近的，
That's
因为
what
直
makes
拍横打
RPB more
讲究的
advanced.
是一个主动发力啊，它是有区别于推挡，推挡更多的是借力啊，跟防守为主。那么直拍横打为什么说先进呢？它是
It
拥有
has
了
the
横板的优
advantages of
势在里面，
shake-hand,
横
both
板是可以
defensive
防守跟
blocking
可
and
以主动
active
发力
force
的。那
generation,
么直板呢，
including the
直拍
banana
横打
flick.
它同时也是
So
可
the
以借力
overall
防
stance
守，
is
也可以
basically
辅
the
助发力，
same as
包括你啊。
shake-hand, feet
所以说
wider
咱
than
们整体
shoulder
框架跟
width.
横板基本上
Why?
没有区别
Because
啊，
active
一样
force
是两个
generation
腿
requires
并肩
lower
宽。 为
body
什么呢？因为
power.
主动
You
发力
need
需要
that
用到
pushing
下
force
肢
from the
力量，需要用
legs.
到下肢
The
的
framework
蹬
seen
蹬
from the
地蹬点
side
的力量。
remains
那么从框
identical.
架还是跟横板一样，原有不变。从侧面看呢，一样的。因
Because
为
the
直板
penhold
它不
racket
管
face
是
area
横
is
打，
still
它
smaller than
板面带
shake-hand,
量要它
we need to
的
lower our
板面的
center of
面积依
gravity a
然
bit
是没
more
有
to fully open the
横
racket
板这么
face.
的
Remember, don't just
多
squat
的
with
一
your
个踢球
knees.
面积，所以说我
Push
们
your
重心
hips
可能
back
要低
first,
一点，才
then
能够
bend the
完全的
knees
把这个板
slightly.
面晾开。
This
那么这
posture
一
is
方
much
周
more
的，不要
suitable
靠
for
蹲腿去
RPB.
把重心压低，
Now
基
many
本在
students
把
ask,
屁股
do I
往
need to
撑了以
raise
后，
my elbow for
再蹲一点点
RPB?
膝盖，哎，这样的一个姿态会更加的合适。对，直拍横打。那么这个时候有很多同学会了解到一样的，孙教练，我直拍横打需不需要架肘呢？那么
Let me
我可以
give
给
you
大
an
家举一个例子，
example.
好比
If
说
you're
你
1.85
是
meters
1.85
tall
米的身
playing
高，
reverse
其实你打
penhold
直拍横打，你
backhand,
大
you
可无必
absolutely don't
架
need to
肘，为什么
raise
呢？
your elbow.
球来
Why?
球，咱们
The
以常
ball
规
at
的
the
球啊，
second
你拿
contact
第二人
point
几乎
sits
就是在
around
这个高度，
18 to 20 centimeters
18 到
high.
20公分左
Raise
右。
your
那么你
elbow
如
and
果
you
说你
can't
是
even
很
reach
高的
it.
选手，你再架肘，手都到这个位置了，所以说你根本连球都碰不到。对，那如果说你是个子低一点的呢，你为了要打到这个经常会出现的一个
So how do you
常规的
determine the
点，
correct
那么你
hand
必
height?
须要架到1.6米。
Simple.
所以说
Use the
大家
incoming
啊
ball
有
as
一
your
个来给我一个
reference.
球，
When we
有一
talk
个
about
最佳的
active
标准，
play,
教大家怎
whether
么
it's
去
penhold
控
push
制你
block,
手的高度。
RPB,
很
or
简单，
shake-hand
以来
backhand
球
drive,
为标
the
准。
racket should always
那么
be
现在打球
slightly
讲究
higher
什
than
么？
the
一个
ball.
强势
From
啊，
that
它有
position,
别于
you
放
move
高球
forward
或者说防
actively
守。
to meet the
咱们讲的
ball.
是一个主动
So
的
your
推波，
natural hand
不
height
管是直
emerges
板
from
横
your
打还是
own
推挡，
body
永远是什么呢？
proportions. For
球
example,
来了以
at
后，
my height of
手指也就是拍
1.75
子比
meters,
球高一点，这个距离去主动迎前去推啊，去推波就行啊，包括推挡，包括横打、横板。对，所以说这个时候你自然而然展现出来，比如说孙教练身高是1.75米，我可能就
I
会
might
有点
raise
微
my
微的下
elbow
去，
slightly.
但是我不
A
会说
shorter
像
player,
1.6
say
几
a
的
woman
球员
around
比如说女
1.6
生，
meters, would
女
need
生
to
矮一
raise
点
it
呢，她
more.
可能就需要再
Someone
加一个球。
1.8
那么
meters
如果说
tall
我是
would keep it
1.8的，
lower.
我可能要
So there's no
就收
absolute
回来一
hand
点。
position.
对，所以
Just
说
follow this
这个手
principle.
的位
Keep
置
your
还没有
racket
绝对
slightly
的，
higher
大
than the
家
ball.
就刚按照
Never
刚刚孙教
lower,
练给大家
always
提出的
slightly
一
above.
个
That's
办
your
法，
standard
就是
for
说你
contact.
的球拍
Now for
比球
RPB,
高
some
哎
people prefer the contact point slightly left or right. The ideal reference is 3 points in one line.
那么同样的，直拍横打也是，击球点呢，有的人会喜欢偏左一点，偏右一点。那么孙燕给大家一个最合适的一个击球点，也就是3点一线。
Align your body center, the ball, and the racket 3 points forming one line. Then push forward actively. The kinetic chain for RPB is the same. Power builds from the toes, transfers through the ankle, calf, knee, thigh, then through the waist, hip, and core, finally reaching the upper arm, forearm, and wrist. That's the sequence. You can see even in my shadow swings, the ball is always contacted right at my center. This makes the stroke feel smooth and natural.
对，大家可以看到没，孙健已经养成一种习惯，就我击球动作，即使在我徒手的时候，我的意识，球永远是在我正中间去出手，这样的动作会非常的舒服跟顺畅。
Now let me explain the grip for penhold grip players who use the block technique. This grip differs from both the 50-50 grip and the forehand biased grip. It requires a major adjustment. My index finger must move further up, and my thumb rests against the blade's edge. On the back, only my middle finger touches the racket, completely different from reverse penhold backhand. This lets me close the racket just enough to press down on the ball when blocking.
那么为什么呢？你们看看，如果说我直拍横打是完全没面积，但是我推挡刚刚好能够把拍型比球高啊，刚刚好能压着球推。那么这个时候我们拍型解决了，可以。
Now you understand why RPB is used less by professionals but more by amateurs. Professionals have the training volume to develop active force generation. Amateurs often choose push block because it's designed for borrowing force and defense, perfect for players with weaker fundamentals or limited training time. For push block, don't squat too low. If you do, your hand drops below the ball, which causes problems.
对，所以说咱们推挡不需要蹲太低了，因为如果推挡蹲太低的话，很容易造成手比球低。对，刚好推挡啊。
The push block stance differs from shake hand and RPB. Feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, hips back slightly, maintaining a forward-leaning posture for borrowing force. The elbow must stay tucked close to the body, regardless of your height, about 1 fist's distance from your side. This creates a leveraged pushing motion. Think of it like pushing a door. Wrist firm, push straight forward. The direction is simply back to front.
往前推啊，那么推波是往前往右，咱们这个不参考。直板推挡啊，就是直接从后往前，从后往前。
Now let me demonstrate the standard push block technique. Notice the ball is aligned on a single line, eyes, hand, and ball. Look at my legs, stance wider than shoulder width, with active leg drive pushing upward. This transfers force so your hand feels less pressure and stays much more stable. You can see my hitting surface remains consistent because I've opened the racket face through my grip, not pressing down too much. I can fully use my body. Same principle. Maintain that 3-point alignment, focus on the legs, and transfer force from the ground up.
对，所以说孙江也一样的啊，3点一线保持以后，把注意力放在腿上面，从下往上传递，从下
From
往
back
上，
to front,
从后往
hand always slightly higher than the ball, just 2 or 3 centimeters above. Never drag upward from below, never too high. Use peripheral vision to judge. Now watch the push block. Notice the stance difference, feet only shoulder width apart because push block cannot generate active force. Compare that to RPB, which is the same principle.
对，大家可以看到站位的区别没有？我是站的与肩同宽，因为推挡它没有办法主动发力，给大家看一下啊。如果说我直拍
You
横
might
打一
think
样，
holding the hand high feels tiring and unnatural. Keep a slightly bent posture, center of gravity lowered, looking slightly downward. Press down on the ball and push forward. Notice my grip index finger positioned very high up, different from RPB. Very stable. The feeling is like pushing a door, squeezing from back to front. Through these demonstrations and detailed breakdowns, I hope you now deeply understand both techniques. Practice each and find what suits your game.
对，那么通过刚刚的示范跟一系列的这种细节解剖，希望大家能够深刻的理解跟深刻的体会。